growing up in Dallas, you actually you were born in Manhattan, Kansas, and talk about you moved to Dallas after a tragic occurrence happened. Talk about
yeah, it was interesting. My father, his name is Roger Hanks. He had actually
it's my dad's first name too.
Really?
Actually, yeah.
I didn't know that. He was murdered probably age 27, 28, and my mother felt like she needed a new setting for the family, and so we consequently moved to Dallas at that point. Obviously kept close ties with my uncles, my family on my father's side. Between there, a lot of road trips going back and forth. Wonderful history, being in that area of Manhattan. Families, you're either in the aviation business helping to build the B-52s, or you are, in the support business of that business. My uncle, who I'm named after, was the first African-American mayor of Manhattan, Kansas.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
Basically, our families were either civil engineers or politicians.
Okay.
And so I think I've been able to pick up some of those traits and use them.
Yes, exactly.
To the best advantage. But we had moved to Dallas, and that was actually a great thing for me personally coming up because of the concentration of not only athletic talent, but intellectual talent. And it forced you to expose what you had immediately, or you weren't going to get seen. One of the great things about being in the area, as I reflect back on it, was we really made Dallas, Texas, our home, and just the great talent, the great wealth of informational talent, athletic talent, artistic talent that was in the area. One example I always give, off of my personal high school football team, we've got a few people with, there's 3 Super Bowl rings off of it.
Wow.
In track, we used to run against guys, the Roy Martins of the world, who were running 10.01 100 meters in high school. So from an athletic standpoint, my high school class, Larry Johnson used to play for the New York Knicks. So you have to show up right now, or you weren't going to be seen. So it was a good deal from that standpoint.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. And I know, I'm sure your father inspired you to be able to, because you were an overachiever. You've been an overachiever throughout your life, and your father was an engineer himself. So I know that the inspiration helped you. Right?
Well, I'm actually upset at him. Apparently I didn't get all those good genes that he had going on. He was a person who was he was actually in medical school, going to be a doctor, and him and my mother started having too many babies, and he needed to feed the family, so he switched to engineering so he can get out of school faster. So he went to school, got out of school, and went to work as an engineer for Procter & Gamble at the time. So certainly a versatile person and very focused, without doubt.
Meeting Dallas Cowboy legends like Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, Everson Walls. I mean, wow. Talk about how inspiring that was for you and what advice they gave you, too.
But what was interesting, it wasn't so much advice because they were just part of the neighborhood. I mean, they were guys that, you'd be at the barber shop and you sit down and get your hair cut, and Tony Dorsett would come sit next to you and get his hair cut. They were in the fabric of the neighborhood.
It's not like that anymore. Not like that anymore as much.
It depends on where you're at. I believe that. But Roger Staubach, for instance, is one of the nicest men you ever want to meet. I always remember myself, my best friend, actually my 2 of my best friends, we would referee his children's soccer games. Just a tremendous personality, treated everyone the same. Yes. Really, he's a guy that if you wanted to steal a trait and make it your own, he's one of the templates that you would go to.
Yes. Yes, indeed, and that showed in the way the Cowboys performed in the '70s when he led them. That's for sure. That's for sure. And were you a Cowboy fan growing up? No. even though
I enjoyed the players. I enjoyed the players. Again, they were part of. I mean, they were part of the neighborhood. Our house was probably all of 9-10 minutes walking distance from their practice facility. So their old practice facility, old Cowboys practice facility. So we were always right there. But I was a Raiders fan. The old Oakland Raiders, and they moved to Los Angeles, and just the whole silver and black, renegade pirate image thing going on. They always had great DBs too. So
of course.
That was my draw to it.
Yes,
at the time. But
Willie Brown, Lester Hayes, all of that. Yeah.
Well, they hurt my feelings later on. I guess that's a story for later, because I just knew I was going to be drafted by the Raiders, and that's when Bill and those guys they traded up to get me. So it's like I always tease Al Davis whenever I see him, and Al Davis has the sharpest memory that I've ever encountered. He remembers everything about everybody, and he's super sharp.
Wow.
And every time he would see me, he would always recount my college coach, and I'd always say, Al, you what happened? I'd always
with the organization, in general, I think they will be back. They have a good foundation, good young foundation. I think that will be back sooner than later. That's for sure. That's for sure. Hopefully, because Mr. Davis isn't getting any younger
I will say this: they've got some tremendous talent. If they can get some continuity in their coaching staff and have basically the same staff together for more than a year. I think players like Jamarcus Russell are ill-served if they have to continually learn a different type of offense year in and year out. There's no consistency. You can't sharpen your craft. Consistency in the front office and consistency amongst your coaching staff leads to consistency on the field. You know what you have, and you can sharpen your craft. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are champions, are a perfect example of that. The Indianapolis Colts up until this year, with Tony Dungy leaving, but that core group has been together. Peyton Manning's had the same offense coordinator his whole career, and so he's able to sharpen his craft and really get good, as opposed to a talented player, I believe, in Jason Campbell, with the Redskins, who've had literally a different offense every year of his 4-year career, I believe, going in 5 years.
Different personnel,
I'm not sure you really know who you have if you're constantly relearning a new offense. So that's my spin on that.
No, absolutely. It's important, especially with intricacies of the game. That's for sure.